Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. I was reminded the other day of one of the interesting dynamics that we can understand through the transactional analysis, or TA, model. And this is about the pulling effect of different modes or ego states. So if you're familiar with TA, you'll be familiar with the labels parent, adult, and child. And in fact, you may even be familiar with those and not even realize that that is in fact TA, or transactional analysis. So the idea here is that we all have within us broadly speaking, three ego states: the parent ego state, the adult ego state, and the child ego state. The adult ego state is the one that is most representative of who we actually are as an adult. The parent ego state tends to be more populated with parental behaviors and modes that we've picked up from our parents or from other parental figures in our lives. And the child ego state tends to be representative of more what we were like as a child, broadly, the childlike aspects of us as a child. And whatever age we are, we have all three. Although, of course, when we're very, very young, the adult mode is very unformed. And for some of us, the adult mode doesn't really get very well formed. Some of us spend our whole lives in parent or child, either all in child or all in parent, or all in parent and or child. And some of us very few of us are always in adult mode, because adult mode is the one where we're completely present, where we're connected with what's actually happening now, what we're experiencing now, and what we experience going on outside of us. So the adult mode is in many ways the most autonomous, and in many ways the most productive in any kind of tangible, observable way. So what's the purpose of the parent and child mode in an adult? Well, the purpose of the parent mode is that's the mode that will take care of other people, that will bring compassion, understanding, support, containing. The parent mode is really, really important, whether as an actual parent of our own children, or if we need to parent somebody else, someone else who needs that kind of support or containment or guidance. And the child aspect is vital for an adult person, because the child aspect is the aspect that can play, that can be creative, that can be free, that can be ridiculous, that can be imaginative. All of that, or most of it, is in the child mode. So we need all three modes. And when we're in a really good balanced state, we actually move between these modes in a way that's harmonious for us and that feels good. So we've got enough free-spiritedness and playfulness and mischievousness. We've got enough balanced, pragmatic, thoughtful, autonomous, responsible mode. And we've got enough caring, compassion, guidance for others. And in fact, people talk about parenting themselves. We can actually use our parent mode to help parent our own child's mode, if you like. So these modes actually have interactions within us. But transactional analysis was originally developed to observe and understand transactions between people. That was the original purpose of it. And it was a way of understanding some of the things that go on, some of the weird things that go on between humans. The thing which I was reminded of the other day, and that was just a bit of background really, but the thing I was reminded of the other day is how there can be a pulling effect. So if we encounter somebody who's in obviously they're in one of those three modes, primarily in that moment, the mode they're in can have a pulling effect on us. and can pull us into the corresponding mode in us. So if we encounter somebody who's in the child mode, depending on which aspect of the child mode they're in, that can pull on either the parent mode or the child mode in us. So let's say they're in what's called the free child mode, playful, imaginative, lighthearted. That can actually call on the free child, playful, lighthearted, imaginative mode in us. And what you get then is you get a lovely mutual play thing going on, which may not look like play. It may just be two people hanging out and having a really nice time together, but it's light. There's something light about it. There's something playful about it. It's not heavy in any way. Or the child mode, whether it's the free child mode or whether it's the rebellious child mode, which is also child mode, particularly the rebellious one, might call or pull in us the parent mode, particularly the controlling parent mode. So you may have experienced this. You may have experienced meeting somebody who is behaving like a rebellious child, a sulky child, a naughty child, where something about the way that they're conducting themselves, showing up, their presence is like that. And where you felt yourself being pulled into a kind of critical or controlling parent type mode without necessarily deciding to do that. So the difficulty with that, it's a natural thing that can happen. And the beneficial reason it can happen is because sometimes that person in childhood, in the child mode, needs parenting. So from a survival point of view, from the point of view of our programming, sometimes going into parent mode is a natural, kindly response to the fact that they're in child mode. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes what happens is you get someone in the rebellious, sulky child mode, you get pulled into the critical, controlling parent mode, and you end up with a fight on your hands. The child mode person gets more and more rebellious and difficult, and the parent mode person gets more and more stiff, restrictive, rules-driven, annoying, dominating, and so on. The other thing that can happen is that we encounter somebody in the parent mode. Let's say they're in the controlling, dominating parent mode, the critical parent mode. That can trigger in us the rebellious child mode. And you can probably see how that can happen. So if you meet somebody who you find overly controlling, that can kind of trigger you into a mode of feeling almost like in a child situation where you feel vulnerable, you feel trapped, you feel over-controlled, you feel suppressed, and you feel at risk, you feel unsafe, you're frightened, and you just want to kick out and rebel. And you might even be able to observe yourself in the moment doing this and thinking, why have I become a sulky child now? What's going on with me? The thing is, those are just two examples of what can happen with this. Does the parent mode in somebody ever trigger the parent mode in somebody else? I think that's less likely, but it can actually happen where you get two people trying to out-parent each other. As in, no, I think that this is much better for everybody if we do this, because I know better what everybody needs. No, I disagree with you. I think we need this. You may see this sometimes in political debates where both people are in parent mode and they're both arguing with each other about who's the better parent, essentially. And these can be very painful to watch. It's very draining to watch because they can actually throw us into the child mode, the rebellious child mode, and squash the free child mode. But what about the adult mode? The adult mode, if anything, is more likely to pull us into the adult mode. Because the adult mode is actually speaking from a place of present moment, rational, possibly feeling strong emotions, but in a rational, balanced state in relationship to that, autonomous, responsible, present. And when someone comes to us in that mode, then that equivalent mode in us is the one that's most likely to respond. So what that means is if you encounter somebody who's stuck in the parent mode and you want to help them to come out of that and come into the present, speak to them from the adult mode. Likewise, if we encounter someone who's stuck in the child mode, either they're in the free child, but it's becoming ungrounded and it's gone on for too long and it's causing them a problem and, they're about to do themselves a mischief, address them from the adult mode. Or equally, if you feel yourself going into the child mode or the parent mode, switch yourself into the adult mode to bring yourself back to the present. So those are just some examples. TA is a much, much, much more complex body of work than I've just indicated. And there are many, many nuances to it. So please don't take everything I've said as gospel. The main point I wanted to illustrate here is that just to remind ourselves that sometimes we can get pulled into a mode that isn't what we had in mind and isn't what we meant. And we can be pulled into it by the mode that the other person is in front of us. But there are always options. We can always shift into the adult mode and allow ourselves to come into the present. And by doing that, defuse potential escalating bad situations. Equally, we can play in the free child mode with the other person also in the free child mode. Equally, we can bring in the benevolent, compassionate parent mode in response to the other person's child mode, which might be exactly what they need. And there are many, many different ways to play with TA and with these ego states in a way that's conscious and helpful and authentic for us. I find this a useful reminder because it helps me to recognize that sometimes my reaction to something is a whiny, irresponsible child mode, and sometimes it's an interfering, unhelpful parent mode. So it means I can be compassionate with myself about that, a little bit of self-parenting there. I can be playful about it, laugh at it, a bit of free child, and I can take responsibility for it, adult mode. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time. Please do check out the other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. And if you feel like you might be looking for a coach and you'd like to find out about my expansive coaching offering, please do go to beingspace.world. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.